This week on the Coastal News podcast, family drama at the Stewarts, murderer finally caught, and fallout from cheating reveal. Hello, this is Coastal News, an unofficial home and away podcast where we dissect the latest week's episodes and discuss the happenings and residents of our favourite fictional town, Summer Bay. We've not really spoken much about Kieran since his return for a couple of episodes, so definitely want to cover it this week, particularly as his and the Stewart sort of family drama covered quite a lot of the episodes this week on Channel 5. So as we know, Alf and Martha, they're away, they're in Marimbula at the moment, out of sight, and Kieran's picked his moment. He's back in the bay, and obviously he's managed to, as we know, convince, for want of a better word, Rue that he's really making a good go of his recovery at the moment. We saw him a week or so ago with his struggle to get a sponsor, and I thought that was going to be, oh God, same old Kieran at that point, because he'd lied to the police, hadn't he, about getting a sponsor, and obviously that was part of his bail conditions or something. So I was a bit concerned about him just coming back to Bay like a car crash again. But he does seem to have, displaying all the right things, saying the right things at the very least. And his recovery, he's gone to the counselling, he's managed to get a sponsor. He seemed to really making a good go of it. That pushiness that he had last time he was around is still there, isn't it? When he tried to get that job again at the gym with Tane, and I think that's part of his personality trait, and it was a little uncomfortable. I'm actually, it sort of showed the gossip side of the bay a bit, because obviously Tane finds out from Irene and all the rest of it that, Jasmine doesn't really like him. Jasmine's not even there at the minute, she's at the hospital, so he isn't there to sort of say don't hire him, he let her down last time. So regardless of his battle, he doesn't deserve that job back, just purely because he let Jasmine down, in my opinion. And he doesn't get it. Tane, says, look, it's not really happening. I've heard things, which was a bit awkward, and I did feel a bit for Kieran at that point, because he is really giving it a good go. Isn't Rue supporting him really nicely as well? Rue's really giving him a good second chance, and Maz has mentioned it a couple of times. Everyone deserves a second chance, right? And if he's willing to put the work in, it's not going to be an easy road. But if he's willing to give it a go, then we've got to give him a go ourselves. And I think that's a really nice attitude to have, actually. Of course, everybody is tiptoeing around Alf and what Alf's going to do, what Alf's reaction is going to be. There was a comment in one of the episodes this week from Rue, actually, who said, my dad can be quite intimidating, and she's absolutely bang on, definitely. And I don't think I, in Kieran's shoes, would be rushing to have that conversation with Alf. But Alf's back, and he knows he's got wind of the visitor in the bay while he's been away, so he's come back on his own, and he's not happy, is he? I think he says to Rue at that sort of showdown between Rue and Alf, which was a great watch. He said, I want him out of my house, I want him out of the caravan park, and I want him out of the bay. And she just turns around to him and says, you do not own Summer Bay. I just thought that was great, because he sort of does, but he doesn't. He does rule the roost though. But she wears him down eventually, and he agrees to meet him, and then that's when obviously things don't tend to go too well. Kieran doesn't turn up, and a bit disappointed at that point, because he ends up in Salt buying a bottle of scotch. This was something else, because obviously Mac served him, and there was a bit of a funny look when he asked for the scotch. But is she aware of his alcoholism, the extent of it, and his recovery? I can't remember. Someone let me know, because I thought she could have just said, no, I'm not serving you, and then text Rue or something. I think that would be what I would do if I knew about it. So I'm wondering, I can't remember whether she's actually aware of his illness. I'm not sure. But she serves him and he ends up with this bottle. Thank gosh Ryder sees him with it in that alleyway, or Chloe sees him, should I say, and sort of says to him, and talks him down, and in the end, doesn't end up taking, drinking anything as of yet. And I think, but he did come close, and I think, he's gonna have a lot of these moments, isn't he? Rue sort of says to him, you don't need that. And she's pointing at this bottle of scotch in the brown paper bag like they do in soaps. So, yeah, really difficult story. I think Kieran, I actually really like Kieran as a character. So I think there's a lot to him. And I think if he's sticking around, which I'd love to see, his battle with this and with himself is going to be one to watch. I really want to see now how he gets back into the family. How's Martha going to react? Because she's oblivious at the minute, and obviously the last time he was around, it was all very, very heated between them two. And is Alf going to come round? I suspect he will do, because he's a big softy inside. Really. But, there's all these questions, and it's unfolding in a nice way. I think it's really nice that he has, and he must remember he's got Rue and Marilyn on his side. To a degree, he's got Ryder now. Ryder was a bit sort of not sure about this and how Grumps would react, wasn't he, when Rue agreed to take him in when he first come back. But I think now Ryder's spent some time with him. Those scenes where Ryder spent the day with him, sort of making sure he didn't drink. They were nice scenes, and we had nice Riders back, I think. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where this goes, and hopefully his recovery, as I say, is going to be tough, but it is going to be a recovery. I hope he gets back into the fold with the Stewarts, because that'd be nice. Okay, so, and the other sort of main big story this week, so the reveal of the real murderer of Susie McAllister, which has been bubbling away for weeks, and as predicted in previous weeks, and the Suspects episode, my top suspect, Dodgy Steve-O, it was him all along. It was an obvious one towards the end. When this first started, there was a lot of people with a lot of motive, but he was the only one, wasn't he, that was, stirring the pot and trying to get Justin framed. The other suspects were just like, what is all this about? He was the only one. And he grew a lot closer to Leah than I would have liked, to be honest. I thought that was going to go somewhere. I know they had this near-miss kiss thing a few weeks back, and I thought, oh, and she was confiding and trusting in him way too much. He was convincing her, Leah, that her partner of I don't know how long now was a murderer, and she actually believed it. I found that really, really frustrating that she wouldn't. That she would just believe that. And I don't know. I mean, he's been violent and he's been, really unpredictable of late. And maybe all that could build up and sort of start to, that together with, Stephen in your ear, could probably start to build up to be something it's not, I guess, in your mind. But I don't know. I just couldn't comprehend why she would just believe that about your own partner. I was trying to put myself in her shoes, and I don't think I would. I'd be like, give over. He's a lot of things, but he's not a murderer. And I know she said something along those lines, but then she did believe it, and I just thought that was absolutely insane. What about you? Did you think that? Because, I just didn't find that right. I guess it says a lot about Leah. She keeps finding herself in these situations. She's very naive and she's very easily led astray. I was saying this to somebody during the week. She's very easily led. She finds herself in these situations constantly with bad blokes, kidnapped and held against her will and God knows what. She's way too trusting, and she never seems to learn from her mistakes and her experience, does she? Let's face it. So she finds herself sort of ostracised from the Morgans, and she's in this sort of web of lies with Stephen at the motel, and discovers Susie's laptop, Susie's phone. She sees, the burner phone, should I say? No, speaking of the phone, that's all, because the phone was bothering me. How that phone that was planted, and how it got from the side of the road being crushed by Susie to in Justin's car still really is a bit of a mystery, even now. But yeah, she finds it. She puts, she the realization that she's actually in a motel room with a murderer. It's him all along. She's been played for a fool again, and she's got to get out of there, that awkward moment. She's trying to eat that cheese sandwich. It was quite funny. But yeah, very, very dramatic end to what has been quite a long bubbling story. Obviously, there's that getaway. Steve tried to get away. PC plod, as we're calling the detective, the weird detective. Finally, after some text message that John shows. I mean, this investigator was not a good detective, was she at all? Lee, I mean, they left the blooming clues, the investigation board out in the police station for Tory and everybody to read. Absolutely ridiculous, but there we go. We've managed to get a solution. Stephen tried to get away. Cash does this big run scene, which we'd like to see. Catches him and gets him arrested. And I'm really, really, really unsatisfied and disappointed with the explanation we've got about what happened between Susie leaving the bay and turning up in the water. Because, we had this sort of conversation between Leah and Stephen about, it was all an accident. I came to the bay and she was leaving and I happened to see her. And, I want some flashbacks. I want to see what the relationship was between Susie and Stephen. I want all that. I want to see Stephen get interviewed by Amy, and then the flashbacks and the fill in all that them gaps we've got, those questions we've all got about what went on with Susie after she left the bay and before she was back in the bay dead. So this, if that is the only explanation we're getting, I'm really, really disappointed with it. If it's coming and it's going to come out at some point, which I hope it is, I can't wait for it, because I do feel like I need that to be feeling satisfied about this story that we've invested so much in. So hopefully it's coming, and if it's not, it was a bit of an anticlimax, if you ask me. What do you think? And the other big thing, hopefully this model thing's drawn to a close now. Nick has finally done the right thing. He's manned up and he's told Bella, and her face was, she absolutely, she was distraught, weren't she? And I can't believe he would do this to her, etc., etc. And her reaction was expected. I expected her to react the way she did. She's not been quite as Bella as I thought, which was actually more enjoyable, because you know what she can be like. And when she did, there was that scene where she came off the beach and she confronted Sienna because Sienna was there, and I thought, and it was all out, and Sienna realised it was all out in the open, and I thought there was one thing missing from that scene, and that was Bella giving Sienna a slap. I think that would have made that really good. But there we go. We don't condone violence, of course, but I know I'd have slapped her. There's then the subsequent fallout. Dean wasn't as Dean either, as I thought he would be. I think Tane's handled it quite well, actually. I think he made him see sense and made him realise he had to do the right thing of his own back. I think if it had gone on much longer, Tane would have had to have told somebody something. And I think, we've spoken about Tane and how much of a decent bloke he is before. He convinced Nick he needed to do the right thing. So that was it. It was good in the end that he did that. I tell you what has really shocked me. I don't know if has it shocked me? I don't know. It's something that's really the person's reaction who wasn't great was Chloe. Her defence of Nick, whilst, yeah, you can defend him, absolutely, family and all that, and you're gonna be more sympathetic to his manipulation, as a family member, but you also at the same time you do know right from wrong, and I think her defence of him wasn't the same as like Tane and Aries, for example, who were saying, look, the guy was really led right up the garden path by this Sienna, but you know, he has done wrong. It was his decision at the end of the day, but just know that he's feeling it as much as she is, and he's been an idiot and he knows it type thing. Whereas Chloe was just like, her defense of him was just making her really really unlikable, even more so than before. Regular listeners will know I'm not her biggest fan, and she just every time something happens, she just makes herself more and more unlikable, and I'm never going to get there with her. I fear now, because normally I give them time to settle in and people grow on me, but I just don't think I'm ever going to get there with Chloe, especially now after this. She saw her ass with Ryder, and I'm thinking, Ryder and Bella were such close friends before any of you lot turned up. The bloke's cheated on her. If he wouldn't be a true person, true friend, if he didn't sort of comfort Bella. You know what I mean? Like, don't get yourselves in the middle. It's none of your business, love. Don't get yourself into it. Leave them to it, And she just constantly putting herself in everyone's business. So I wasn't happy at that at all. Then she just does this weird thing at Salt with Mac, and she calls her a train wreck. Which, as Max admitted herself, was true. So, yeah, it ended up resulting in this weird truce and apology. So, there's a bit of closure going on between that feud at Salt, and Max seems to be getting herself back to herself as well. But yeah, Chloe not having it. Keep out of Neek's business. I think if Neek heard the way she was defending him, he would probably call her out on it himself, because he knows the way to conduct himself better than Chloe, I think. Yeah, Neek would just put her in a place and say, look, I did what at the end of the day, what I did was wrong, and and like everybody else is saying, she's just unreasonable beyond words. And Mac's got this sort of turning point, hasn't she, this week? She's back to work. She's getting on really well with Ryder, which I'm loving watching. She's had this, like I just said, this closure with Chloe on their feud, and she attempts with Ziggy again to sort of square that circle, and Ziggy agrees to the drink, but she's having none of it, is she? And I think Ziggy's starting to look a little bit unreasonable herself now. I think Ziggy needs to appreciate she was in that bad place. Yes, she cracked on Tane, but I think that that Mac and Tane are a drama waiting to happen, if you ask me. And I don't think Ziggy and Tane are as strong as I would like them to be. I do really like them as a couple. I do really like them together. But I don't think they're as strong as makes out by the looks of things. She's snapping at him. She really overreacts about the Nick and Bella news and the Sienna news. She's becoming a bit tantrumy and a bit just annoying. She's got a problem with everything at the minute, Ziggy. What's going on with her? She doesn't have to be back besties and roommates with Mac now. She just needs to say, look, it's changed things now forever between me and you. I don't want to hate you. Just stay away from me and Tane as much as you can, and we'll be civil. And that's all she needs to do. And I think Mac would accept that. I think she realises she's got a lot of work to go there to get anything remotely similar or any kind of friendship back with with Ziggy. So you know, I think Mac's willing to put the work in. I think she knows that's what she's got to do, but she's just getting the door slammed in her face all the time. And I think Ziggy needs to chill out a bit, and she needs to be more more forgiving. You know, she normally is historically. She's normally a bit more willing, and I think, you know, is this the last straw for her? Is this just to cause a problem with her and Tane? Because I think if Tane now, as we've seen, has agreed to be friendly with Mac, it's not going to go down well with Ziggy all the time. If she's seeing them together and she's seeing them say morning and all the rest of it, such a small town, it's not going to go down well at all. And I don't think it's going to cause problems between Ziggy and Tane. I'm seeing it now. Crystal ball. Right, that brings us to the end of the Coastal News podcast this week. Please like, follow, subscribe, whatever you need to do to be notified of future episodes. New episodes every weekend after the week's airings of Home and Away on Channel 5. Also catch us during the week for episode discussion and reaction on Twitter and Instagram at Coastal News Pod. Can't wait for next week. Thank you for listening. I will see you then. Bye-bye.